Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Top Rope Takes. We are the show that some say are more unpredictable than a Braun Breaker title run. I'm Jason Marcus alongside with Willie Thrill. Will, we didn't know how this was going to go. We have our answer. It was a short reign for one Mr. Jey Uso, but we officially have a new Intercontinental Champion in Braun Breaker once again. What an episode of Raw.
Yeah, it was I actually really enjoyed this episode of Raw. I'm starting to get into the swing of these 2 hour Raws. And it was funny because if you go back to last week, I did kind of have a Jimmy Neutron brain blast about how this Intercontinental Championship match was going to
Yeah.
go, predicting that the new Bloodline would appear. But I didn't realize it wasn't a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. It was a That's So Raven look into the future because that's exactly what happened. We had the new Bloodline come out. Let's talk about it, Jason.
Let's talk about it. Bring Will with you next time you play the lottery because this man sees it coming. It was, I was very conflicted. I think, as a lot of us were when this match was announced last week, because I think we all agreed that Braun Breaker could not afford another loss. But we also all agreed that no one really wanted to see Jey Uso lose the Intercontinental Championship less than a month into his reign. Um, that is exactly what ends up happening. Jey Uso no longer the champion because he gets the title, lost because of interference from the new bloodline. And basically, what this tells me, Will, was I think this was kind of always the plan all along. Now that I've seen it all play out, it feels like the Jey Uso Intercontinental Championship run was more impulsive than it was ever a long term decision. I think even just I said this to my buddies as I was watching it. I've always thought it was weird that Jey Uso has been wearing blue gear on Raw for the last couple weeks. I think his move to SmackDown has always been the long-term move, and that this run was something that they just decided last minute. What do you think about that theory?
Um, I think there's some holes considering he turned blue since he joined Raw like a year ago. He was always wearing blue, so I don't think that's like the catalyst
I
to
don't know. I
him
just started
being
noticing
making
it, I
it a
guess.
SmackDown. But I will say, as far as the title reign, how far do you think this was the plan? Because I think this was like they made this decision a month ago because when they had Braun Breaker shake Jey Uso's hand,
Hmm.
I think they were going to actually move on with Braun Breaker to the world title picture.
Hmm.
And then, a certain someone decided to make their way back into the fold that brought Braun Breaker back into the IC title picture, which is when they're like, wait a second, we could actually tie this into what we need for the Bloodline story. I could be wrong about that. I
Hmm.
think what they've done with this Intercontinental Championship reign is use it as a sort of like a plot device
Yeah.
for the Bloodline storyline, which I actually, in the end, even though I've constantly said I would hope that Jey Uso holds on to this title for a while since it's his first singles title, I don't mind how they've gone about using the Intercontinental Championship to play into this Bloodline storyline thus far. Because once we got to SmackDown and we saw the tension between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns
Hmm.
and how clear it was that Jey Uso did not want any part of this, situation involving the new Bloodline, Roman and
Yeah.
Jimmy. I felt like at that point, I wasn't like, a crazy theory to be like, the new bloodline's going to interfere in this match because
Right.
it seemed like if there was going to be something to take Jey Uso over the top and
Hmm.
finally get him to side with Roman and Jimmy, it would be losing that first singles title so quickly at the hands of the new bloodline.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think from a story perspective, it's a great, like you said, plot device. I think is a great term for it. Um, just wish he would have had a little bit longer run and had a little bit more. And also, I just think the whole booking of Braun Breaker has been weird from him losing and then winning and then losing again and then winning again. And then the whole handshake where it looked like he was going to turn face and then immediately was like, no, I'm mad at you because you didn't shake my, you didn't give me what I wanted. I wanted more respect. And I thought that was just like such a weird cop out and story. Like it feels very much like there was a plan that something changed and then they kind of had to backtrack and rewrite and that's so but at the end of the day now I think at this point you cannot have Braun Breaker lose this Intercontinental Championship anytime soon.
Yeah, he better hold on to it till Mania. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to see him lose it till at least WrestleMania because
Yeah.
there's no besides Jey Uso, who I felt like had the momentum and you kind of had to ride the hot hand.
Hmm.
Like there's no one else at this point who I'd want to see as Intercontinental Champion. There might be a few names that if Braun wasn't holding the title, I would like. I just don't think, as far as on the face side of Raw, there's anyone I would want
Yeah.
to see hold that title. So, but I do want to get into this match because there's a lot of moments I did enjoy from this match in particular. One, Solo Sikoa and Jacob
Mhm.
Fatu at ringside.
Yeah.
This was classic. I don't know if you played those SmackDown versus Raw games, but
I did.
I just reminded me of when in the middle of the match they cut to the ringside and then they
Mm.
have a random wrestler holding up two tickets and they're like, "Hey, check out who's at ringside." Solo Sikoa did that exact same thing. Like, we got tickets.
Yeah.
We're here. And I love him coming out with the Yeet shirt. Something
Yeah.
about this solo. It was weird. Like this solo in particular actually was like enjoyable.
Yes.
I feel like we've kind of been down as a whole in the wrestling community on Solo Sikoa.
Hmm.
Solo was awesome in this segment. I don't know. He was really funny. I think he's got like an untapped charisma that they haven't really shown on TV.
Yeah.
And it's weird because he's either like great in like the silent destroyer role or he's awesome at just being like this little,
Hmm.
conniving heel who, is kind of got a little edge, a funny edge to him.
What's the difference, you think? What is he doing in this particular segment or episode that makes him more enjoyable than when because to me, what I think it is I think he needs to lean more into the silliness and the fact that people don't take him seriously. I think he's trying when he tries too hard to be the tribal chief, it people don't buy it. And so I think the character needs to be leaning more into like the little kid dressing up in his dad's clothing. Like he has to be self-aware that he is not Roman Reigns, you know?
100%. Once they made the decision to have him talk,
Hmm.
he should have went all in on like being because it's just a great flip of the switch.
Hmm.
Because I actually don't think I would have mind him as like the new tribal chief if he
Hmm.
continued to not speak and they
Yeah.
had someone else in his place speaking for him.
Yeah.
But since you're gonna make him talk, and I totally understand why, I think he's a funny guy. Like he's genuinely in real life, he's a funny dude. So
Yeah.
kind of have him lean into it. And like we saw the best moments of the original Bloodline was when they leaned into that comedic side with when they were, teaming with Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn
Hmm.
wanted to be really part of the Bloodline and all that Usi stuff. Like that's when the Bloodline is really at their best, when they kind of have a little fun with it because you can still take them seriously. They're
Yeah.
still like intimidating dudes, but you also want to be entertained. And these guys are entertaining. And I thought tonight Solo Sikoa was able to showcase that, or last night he was able to showcase that.
Yeah.
So enjoyed it a ton. And then later on, we saw Jey Uso duck out of the way. Braun Breaker hits a flying spear, which almost looked like a clothesline because he caught Solo right across the neck. It
Yeah.
looked like he like nearly took off his head. It was like fuck, like it was insane. Like he was decapitated. And then you see Jacob Fatu kind of get all wide eyed and he jumps over the barricade. And we get what
Hmm.
I think is going to be an all time great future matchup stare down between
Yes.
Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu. It reminded me of like this was a while ago, probably like 10 years at this point, when the Shield and the Wyatt family first faced off. They were both
Yes.
heels at the time, but they were kept separate for a really long since their debuts. They were kind of kept separate. They finally came together on a Raw episode and just stared down and kind of
Hmm.
had beef with each other. The crowd erupted. Like they wanted to see it. That's the same feeling I got here. Whereas two guys who they've been separated since their debuts, they've been dominant on their respective brands, and they come together and stare down. And this crowd, you could start to feel a buzz. Like they're like,
Yes.
oh, this is like, we're seeing the future here. This is going to
Yeah.
be a great matchup. Jey Uso obviously comes in, interferes. There's a whole bunch of interference on the outside. Tonga Loa come out,
Yeah.
trying to cause havoc. Fatu with the super kick rolls him inside the ring, and Braun Breaker's able to capitalize, win back his Intercontinental Championship. Overall, like a really fun main event that drives a story forward. And even though we are kind of down on Braun Breaker being back in this mid card title scene, I think what it did for Jey Uso and the Bloodline story was just it made it kind of overshadowed that whole like downside I guess I had on the Braun Breaker thing. And I think they'll still be able to capitalize. Braun Breaker, if they don't have any plans for him to be in the main event, he might as well just hold on to that Intercontinental
Right.
Championship.
I don't think it's even that they don't have plans for him in the main event. I think there's just so many other people in line. Like this episode, they teased Damian Priest is coming up. After Gunther gets through Cody at Crown Jewel, he's probably the next person in line. Certainly, it would depending on what their plans are for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. They've got a couple people there. They even started teasing a Dominic Mysterio Gunther program. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be a full length thing, if it's more than maybe just a one off. But certainly Dominic Mysterio has earned his right to be in the main event. Just given the amount of heat and attention and ratings and how good he's been doing in his role. So there's no shortage of people that they want to have in that top spot. And with a 2 hour Raw specifically, there's only so much room for people. So better to secure your spot in the mid card than not at all in the show.
Yeah, and I would hope, and that's a good point, is like it's not necessarily they don't have anything for Braun. It's just we have so many challengers lined up. Because then we didn't even mention Drew and Punk whenever they come back. They're probably
Yeah.
going to be thrown into that title picture as well. So I don't, and for me, Braun Breaker's a guy where it's like as soon as he challenges for the World Heavyweight Championship, it should be like Gunther. He's got to win. Like he's
Yeah.
just got to win the title.
Yeah.
So if they don't plan on doing that, then he should hold on to the Intercontinental Championship and just throw around some mid card guys
Can I give
until
you a top rope
WrestleMania.
take?
Sure.
All right. So you mentioned that you think Braun Breaker should win the title as soon as he challenges for it. My top rope take is this is my projected title like lineage. You ready? So Gunther's your current champion, right? I think top rope take, he drops it to John Cena around WrestleMania time, and John Cena will drop it to Braun Breaker.
All right. I think that's a fair take. I don't know if that's necessarily top rope. I I do like it.
Mm.
I will say the only thing that is tricky is I do think John Cena, I guess, is going to win that world title. I just really think Gunther should beat Cena if that is the match at Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Listen, I'm a big Gunther guy. That's been established on this show. I don't know for certain if Cena's going to win the world title, but I think if that is like, if they want him to win it, I think he's got to take it off Gunther. I don't think he's going to take it off. Maybe he takes it off Cody. I actually think it'd be more impactful.
I don't think he's going to take it off Cody either, but I do think whoever takes it off Cody, that could be the case where John Cena beats that person.
Yeah.
But that's also way down the line because, I have theories on that as well. So
Okay. Can't
we'll
wait to
see.
hear them.
We got 2 nights in New Jersey, and we're still hooking up, right? So that is, we got time. We got
Yeah.
time.
All right. Well, that's my top rope take. Um, but anyway, going back to this Monday Night Raw, Gunther's got some challenges in line. We saw a backstage program with him and Damian Priest, kind of setting up for with whatever happens at Crown Jewel. Can we talk about the ridiculousness of this Crown Jewel Championship being presented like it was like in a like it was what was that? It almost looked like a casket, like a hearse or something that they like rolled out. Like I thought somebody passed away, and they had like pallbearers, and they just opened it up. There's this championship that's never going to be seen on TV again.
It's
Um,
because this championship is death from the moment it showed up. It's lit. I feel like that's what they're alluding to. Like we're gonna see it once. We're not gonna see it until next year when they do this crown jewel thing.
yeah,
So, and who knows, really? Like, do you think over under 5 years that this crown jewel championship thing lasts? Like
under,
this
under,
on easy under, right? Because like
easy
there's
under.
no like there's no way they keep this going. It's like the brand warfare thing. Like
Yeah,
they'll do it for a few years, they'll stop, and then they'll do it again for a few years, stop.
yeah.
It's just another gimmick for them. I
It's
don't
just
even know if it goes 3 years, but
no, no shot. It's gonna go two.
oh
It's gonna
man.
go two,
They're gonna
and
go
then
to it, then they realize this is a horrible idea. Like
yeah.
we'll give you something else.
I literally think it's just because they didn't have anything better planned.
Yeah, no, I guess yeah, that makes sense because or I don't know, like I think the Saudi prince might have just been like, it would be cool if we had the champions fight each other. And then
Yeah,
they're like, well, you remember how that worked out last time? It's like, no,
yeah,
no, no, but get this.
yeah.
They get a new championship.
I
What,
think the agreement is probably something along the lines of like they want like a big show, and so they feel pressure
he signed to
creatively.
AEW though.
The Crown Prince.
No, Big Show.
Oh, the big shit. Can you imagine the graphic? The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is all elite.
Nah, dude, that'd be crazy. No, but they want fake Yokozuna again or whatever they wanted
Yeah,
last time.
yeah.
They'll get all those guys. They love their big fellas.
But my point is, like, that title is going to go the same way as that championship for the greatest Royal Rumble. Like, it was never seen again. It was never mentioned
Yeah, or
again.
the two-week trophy match.
Oh my God.
The best in the
Just,
world trophy. They've had so many one-off things. I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if it, ends next year. Like they don't
yeah.
even. They're like, oh wait, we had this. Yeah, no,
Yeah, right.
not doing it.
Um, anyway, anything else you want to talk about in that Intercontinental Championship main event?
Um,
I think the only thing I was going
I
to say was I think it speaks to Jacob Fatu because we already talked about his stare down with Braun Breaker and how people are excited and looking forward to that eventually down the line. We got the same thing I thought on SmackDown with him and Jey Uso, like another like interesting matchup that people were excited about. So there's a lot of people that Jacob Fatu specifically is going to work with down the line. People are excited for, and I think that's a credit to him.
Yeah, and then a final note, and this might transition into something else we could talk to about on Raw. Is the Jey Uso Rhea Ripley thing over? Like
Yeah,
they're not doing that, I guess. Like it was weird. They like teased it in the summer. They didn't really do anything with it, and then it kind of they just had some backstage segments here and there,
yeah.
and really hasn't resulted in anything. Maybe it's something they could go back to like way later, but right now in the foreseeable future, I think they're kind of tabling that stuff.
I think there's a lot rewritten. Um, that's what it feels like just watching the product. I feel like there was a lot of plans that they were building to, then something along the lines like they just like caused a ripple effect, and a lot of things had to like erased out and rewritten. And I think that might have been one of the casualties left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
I mean, they could always go back to it at some point after the bloodline stuff, but
They will. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's something that they could just go back to whenever they want to, and it
yeah,
doesn't even have to be like a long term thing where they like go back to it, and now that's the storyline they're going with. Just
yeah,
like little like references that they can make sprinkled out throughout the next few years,
yeah,
where if Jay and Rhea find themselves in the same situations or storylines
yeah.
again, then they can make a reference to it.
Because I mean, eventually you're gonna get Dom and Liv versus Jay and Rhea, right? Isn't that what we the kind of thought was gonna be? I
That
don't know.
well, I it just at this point, who cares?
Yeah.
So if they do it, cool. But
Mhm. Well, Liv and Dom were on Raw last night. They were part of a women's tag team match. It was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, I believe, in her first official match since returning, versus the Damage Control, Io Sky, and
were they not in a tag last week
they might have been. Oh, yeah,
with
against
Tiffany
not
and
was it
Rhea?
Naya,
I thought
right?
Tiffany wasn't it Tiffany and Rhea versus Liv and Raquel, or was it Liv and Naya?
I don't remember. It might have been.
It's goddamn. You're
But
making me look this up.
either way,
Keep talking.
yeah, Liv and Raquel were facing Damage Control, and you know, it looked like Liv. I don't really know how to feel about this whole Raquel stuff. It kind of feels out of place and underwhelming. Like I get like from a narrative perspective, I think it makes sense because of her history with Liv Morgan.
It was Rhea and Tiffany versus Liv and Raquel last week. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
that makes sense because why would Tiffany be going up against Naya? That makes no
Well, I
sense.
thought she was partners with Nia.
The partners with Rhea.
Right,
Remember
right.
Barbenheimer? All right. Back to Raw. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that you know, just the classic trope of, Liv looks like she's about to get her butt handed to her. Dominic Mysterio makes the save, carries her out again. Same thing we've seen the last couple weeks. Raquel's place in this whole Judgment Day storyline, I think I need to see more from because it makes sense. Her allegiance with Liv Morgan makes sense because we've seen that a couple years ago in this whole Liv Morgan revenge tour. But she kind of feels out of place in the Judgment Day as a whole.
Right. Well, there is a place. The only thing I see a place for her in is when we get to these backstage segments, which can we just talk about it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Judgment Day is backstage, and Finn and JD are going over. Oh, we got to handle tag business, but we're worried about Damian Priest.
Mm-hmm.
Separate thing there. Then Dominic, as we mentioned before, uh thinks that he can go after the World Heavyweight Championship. He could take on Gunther. Carlito kind of laughs at this. And Raquel and Liv are like, why are you laughing? And Raquel's like, what do you even do around here, Carlito? He's like, I bring the cool factor. But
Yeah.
then in reality, he also is like, no, no, no. I'm a fixer.
Mhm.
I'm going to fix this problem. So he goes backstage and he happens to overhear a conversation. Did you see this?
I think so.
With damage control.
Yeah.
And his takeaway from this is that he needs to learn Chinese. Now, I swear, I'm pretty certain in 2024, earlier this year, they got rid of Vince McMahon. But what, like, this, if there was a Vince line or a
Mhm.
Vince era like segment, it was this backstage thing with Carlito. I had no idea what they were thinking. It got cut from social media. You can't find the clip anywhere if
Mhm.
you try to look online, even if it's from like a fan account. All of the ones that I've seen are deleted already. So what are we doing? What are we doing?
Honestly, I'm not going to defend it, but my belief is that it was just it was a joke that they just didn't land. Um, because Carlito's been trying to be the comedic relief, like that's in his character. And I kind of think like the dumbness of his character, like the silliness was what he was trying to go for, and it was just off. It was what do they say? It's not like I can't think of the term right now, but it just like it wasn't that's not cool. you know
Exactly. It wasn't cool. And then here's the thing, like I could even accept if like an R Truth who is like we know for years has been the dumb character. If he
Yeah,
said that, like I could almost maybe make an exception, but Carlito's never been consistently presented as that dumb of
yeah.
a character. Like he says stupid things,
Hmm.
but not on the level where it's like
Hmm.
racist or it's just racist. Let's be flat out.
Hmm.
So I think that just really like kind of
Yeah.
was
It
baffling
was
to me.
tone deaf is what I was trying to say. Like in 20, like that's a joke that like again, like you know, 10, 5, maybe even 5 years ago, you probably could get away with. In 2024, you can't get away with that stuff. Um, and
It'd
I
be
don't
like
know.
in no, but like 5 years ago, if we were looking back and be like, oh wow, like not even 5 years, like it just would have to be from like 2006. If we saw 2006 Carlito make this joke, we'd be like, oh yeah, well the times were different, but
Yeah,
it's 2006. They couldn't get away with it in
yeah.
2024. Now they're doing it in 2024, and the thing is that we know that like there's writers and there's like a system
Hmm.
to like go through before getting the stuff on TV.
Is
So
it
that's
possible
why
he improvised it?
then something would have to be like
Hmm.
shown in the next week that made it seem like he went off script because
Because I
they
don't.
would like I would legit like and this might be like a bit harsh but I would give out a fine for something like that if that was off script and he did that
Maybe.
or like not have him on TV
Why do
again.
you think Carlito, the character, said it?
Well, they're trying to do exactly what he says. They're trying to make him like this silly dumb character,
Right.
but
Well,
like I just don't think you have to go that far.
I think the idea was that he was like, "Oh, I have to learn Chinese, even though they're Japanese," um, because he was like saying like, because like he thinks they're like attractive, right? Is that kind of like what you were
Oh,
getting?
like in that segment? No, I think he
Yeah.
was just like trying to because they're adversaries to the Judgment Day. I should learn
Oh,
Chinese, like so I can actually know what's going on and inform the Judgment Day. Actually, be a use of the Judgment Day. Maybe it was a thing of because then that's double. That's like double horrible. If he's like trying to
well,
hit
because
on
what we've seen
these
from Carly,
Japanese girls
yeah. I
by
mean,
saying I should learn Chinese. Like
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
what I took from it because Carlito's character specifically in the last couple of weeks, like the whole Liv Morgan stuff and the whole Raquel stuff, is like Carlito's kind of like a womanizer, like he's kind of really into like Raquel and Liv. And so I took it when he saw the girls, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
they're really hot. I need to learn how to talk to them. And then it was just a bad joke. That's what I
right.
took from it. Um, But
That's the
either
case.
way,
We're
it's a
in
bad decision.
deep water. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not good. So
Yeah.
let's not dwell on it too much. I feel like we've gotten really analytical over
Yeah.
one of the throwaway characters on Raw, and
Mm.
it's a shame because I really do actually enjoy Carlito, and I even enjoyed him in the next segment when he comes back to the Judgment Day Den and is like, "Got you a match."
Mhm.
He's like, "For the World Championship." He's like, "Nope." Number one contender. Nope. But I got you a match with the former world champion, and if you win that one, you get to be a number one contender. Who's it with? I don't know. Like, that to me is like where Carlito should be at. It's just kind of like just a little more dopey, but not like
Yeah.
super offensive. And I think it's going to be Damian Priest. Like that's my assumption. But
Oh,
do you have
interesting.
any guesses?
I was with my buddy watching this, and the first name they threw out was Sheamus, and I thought that was a good shout.
That is actually a good shot. I was confused if it was former world champion or former world heavyweight champion, so it could only be from the small pool of names.
Yeah. I
But
think
I guess
Sheamus.
Sheamus falls in that category if you're going with the old world heavyweight championship
Mhm.
as well. So
And I think Sheamus is a guy that can afford a loss, through obviously through, Dominic's not going to beat him clean, but he's moved on from the Pete Dunne stuff. Give him a amount, they want to continue to use him on Raw. So that would be my guess.
do you think Dom, no matter who he faces, Dom's going to win?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Dom's winning the world title anytime soon, but
But you think he's going to be involved in that picture?
yeah, I really do. Because I think Dom is too much of a needle mover right now for him not to be involved in something substantial. And now that this kind of lib stuff has fizzled out, like, what's he doing?
I think it would be good for him or just good for the Judgment Day in general if they
Mm-hmm.
had someone in that kind of world title picture
Mm-hmm.
floating around. I would just figure it'd be like a Finn Balor more so than a
Yeah, no, I think
Dominic
Finn is
Mysterio.
locked up in this tag stuff, and honestly, Finn's stock has been lowering. Feels like for 10 years, but
Mm.
um, no, I think Dominic Mysterio is their number one draft pick in the Judgment Day as far as long term, stars that they're going to build up, and I don't think he's going to be beating Gunther by any means, but I definitely see him being somebody that they through by hook or by crook is going to be involved in that title picture.
All right.
So let's talk about some other stuff that happened on the show. We talked about the women. We talked about Judgment Day as a whole, Intercontinental title. We have a lot of the show revolved around this tag team title tournament that's been happening. So this was kind of weird, Will. They said it was like a tournament, right? That's kind of, am I correct? That's kind of how they build
Oh
this.
yeah, it's like a semi tournament, I guess.
But there's only been three matches, and then we're gonna blow it off in a triple threat. Like that's not. I've never seen
It's
a
more like
tournament.
a qualifier and
Yeah,
then a match kind
yeah.
of thing.
I was waiting for the fourth match to be announced. I was like, so who's going? Like when are we getting the bracket? But we're not apparently. Um, so the very last week, just to recap, War Raiders made the return. Not Viking Raiders either. Get it right, people. War Raiders made the return, and they defeated Otis and Akira Tozawa to advance to this now triple threat match that we know. And then this week on Raw, we had the New Day defeat Authors of Pain through a roll up, which you called last week. And we also had the LWO, specifically Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, defeat American Made to advance to this triple threat, which I was shocked about. I thought I was, like I said, I was watching it with my friends, and I was like, I don't know who's going to win the New Day AOP match. I'm confident American Made is winning this match. And they didn't. So I thought that was very shocking. But we are getting a triple threat match next week to determine the number one contender. What are your thoughts on these two matches we saw this week, though?
I thought both were like fun little tag team matches. We'll cover the New Day stuff and then we'll get into the New Day post
Okay.
match stuff because I think that's also important. But New Day, I think the reason why they had LWO win is to drive that New Day storyline forward. It almost reaffirms my prediction that New Day is going to win this tournament and go after the tag titles because I do think we're going to kind of get a repeat of the Ray Xavier match next
Mm-hmm.
week where Xavier will this time very intentionally rip off the mask of either Rey Mysterio or Dragon Lee
Mm-hmm.
to try to get the win. And it's
Yeah.
good because then you don't pin the War Raiders who just returned.
Yes.
New Day gets that tag title match that they've been looking for. And I think it's better that American Made probably isn't involved in that picture. I think it would be a weird match if you had like kind of like a tweener going up against two clearly I guess War Raiders as a face, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you kind of need someone to take the pin, and I don't think you need American Made to take the pin
But
in
they took a
the
pin against
Miz title.
LWO. Isn't that worse?
Against Ray. I
I
mean, he's a
guess.
legend. Like
Yeah.
you can do that, but I just don't think like it would get the same reaction. Basically, what I'm saying is like Xavier Woods pinning Brutus Creed doesn't drive the story forward as much as
Right.
Xavier Woods pinning Ray or Dragon Lee does.
Okay.
And
I
I
get
don't
that.
think you're pinning Eric or Ivar. Is my
No, you're not.
so I think that's why it makes sense for LWO to move forward.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, so for the New Day match, our Truth comes out and helps them get the win. Xavier Woods, by the way, cool with this. We've
Mhm.
seen in the past, normally Xavier Woods gets upset about this. I think he's cool with this because Kofi didn't plan for our Truth to come out. Our Truth
Right.
kind of just happened to come out there due to circumstance
He just
of
wants to
being
be
involved.
involved, Will.
Right. And then so, very appreciative. They got the win anyway. So Xavier was fine with that. They move away. Final Testament start to beat up on our Truth. And
Mhm.
Xavier Woods is like, Kofi, we got to get out of here, man. Like, we don't want any part of that. We got a tag title match, or we got a number one contenders match next week. We can't be getting beat up or anything. Kofi
Mhm.
still wants to help out. And then the Wyatt Six appear. The
Yep.
teasers were right. We kind of expected them to go after the Miz and Final Testament after he split away from our Truth.
Yeah.
And we had, the Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, Eric Rowan brawl with AOP and Karrion Cross. Nikki going after Scarlett. Miz thinks he's escaped, but Uncle Howdy appears from behind. And who pushes Miz out of the way but Paul Ellering taking the mandible claw? And I think this is a way to get him off TV, if I'm not mistaken.
I would not be shocked. Because
Is
what's
that
he doing? Why does he need to be there?
exactly like I feel like I actually think this was a smart thing to do because he really was like, he hasn't really done anything
No.
of note since returning with the Final Testament. So I think it's a good way to get him out of there. He doesn't ever have to come back. It
No.
makes the White Six look like killers because
Mhm.
they took this guy off TV. And the Miz we saw later backstage was trying to get out of there, but Karrion Cross and AOP stopped them and was like, "You either go through them or you go through us." And Miz is
Mhm.
like, "Okay, we need a plan." And Karrion Cross likes that. So, what do you like this whole thing?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like this is very much like, oh, this is not up my alley at
Mid
all.
card at its finest. I think Miz and the Final Testament together, while narratively, I guess, makes some sense. Aesthetically, I just this is what we're doing with the Miz right now. I'd rather you just keep his hosting gigs, and be that guy. Like it doesn't make any sense for them to be paired together. Miz has never been a dark and brooding or threatening character in any way. Their alignment doesn't make any sense to me. Um, and then the uncle, I'd rather him honestly. I'd rather him just stay with our truth at this point, like and do whatever they got. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe
No,
that's
here's what I'm gonna say. Is my question to you is, do you think the Miz will ever be in an interesting or compelling feud again?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think it's. I think. Listen, we all know this is how pro
What
wrestling
was the
works.
last good Miz feud? What
The
was your
last
favorite?
good Miz feud.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, it has been a minute. Listen, he nails his celebrity spots, okay?
Okay.
Logan Paul was
That was
probably
good.
was better than this.
Well, dude, the bar is low. There's a lot of things better than this. I'll give you that, but come on.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's a lot of people in the WWE. There's only so many spots to go around. The fact that Miz is on television means that consistently means that he's high up there in their hierarchy. Um, but is he ever going to be in a legitimate world title match? Is that what you're saying? No, he's never going to be. I could see him making another run though with like the Intercontinental Championship. Make go against Braun Breaker as a face or something. There's a story there because Miz is like known for the Intercontinental Championship. I could see him doing something like that. Is he ever going to be like a WrestleMania headliner again? No, of course not. That time is
We
past
knew
and
that
done.
after
Yeah,
WrestleMania 27. Like that was
yeah,
clear.
yeah. But he has his role and he's good at it. It's like not everybody can be John Cena, not everybody can be Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Sometimes you're the celebrity guy, and that's just what Miz is, and I think that's the role he needs to stick to. Um, and that's again, I'm like, but we've seen it from Miz. Miz has it in him to be as credible as he wants to be. Everybody always talks about like that whole talking smack stuff with him and Daniel Bryan. Like he's got that fire and he's got that passion to where like if you creatively put him in a storyline, like Miz can make it work. I just
Mhm.
don't think he's ever going to be given that opportunity legitimately again.
Yeah, that talking smack segment. How long ago was
It was 10 years ago.
yeah, okay. Just making sure. But I think Miz is a good pro. I was also trying to lead you into making our weekly Shane McMahon reference because
Oh
that might have been the last good Miz feud. But
yeah.
I just don't think, and it's not even necessarily his fault because I think you make some good point. I think he can like elevate himself
Mm-hmm.
to a level where he's a credible threat. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't think because of like the in-ring capabilities and like where we're at right now in WWE, there's really a place for the Miz.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. I could say the same thing about guys like R-Truth
Mm-hmm.
or even, I hate to say it, but guys like Kofi Kingston, where
Yeah.
like the guys from the early 2010s are now kind of fading out because we're expected to have this certain ring quality. And yes, those guys can definitely go in the ring, Miz, R-Truth, Kofi. But I just think there's like an expectation now
Mm-hmm.
where like we're like kind of beyond that.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I do love all those guys. And I do hope that each one of them has like one more great run before they finally decide to call it quits or retire.
Yeah. And I think you're
But
seeing it from Kofi. I mean, this is Kofi's
I
going
think
to
I
get a
do
tag
love the
title run.
COVID, but this I'm saying like I really do. I've always wanted a great Kofi Rumble to WrestleMania storyline
Mm-hmm.
that's not like forced by the fans. Like
Right.
kind of like what I want, and what I mean by that is, and I'll talk about it more
Mm-hmm.
when we get closer to the Rumble. But I always wanted Kofi because he's had been like a Rumble highlight reel to have like a really strong showing in the Royal Rumble that
Yeah.
gets the fans behind them, and then he makes like this awesome run
Yeah.
where he finally like wins a chamber match and then has the storyline to WrestleMania. I don't think we'll ever get that at this point, but at least I would love to have him like get a good Rumble showing at least one time.
Hey, what else from Raw you want to talk about?
Let's talk about this Bronson Reed, Seth
Oh,
Rollins
right.
stuff.
Right.
We'll cap
Official
it
for
off
Crown
here.
Jewel. Um, I like that the Raw started out hot with this angle where we got their typical like off the bus walk in, and then that they've done this a couple times in the last couple weeks, and then why do I want to call him Jinder Rock? Bronson Reed came in and beat that ass up, and then that's how they kind of started. And they kept like Peter and the chicken in it all night, just fighting. And this match is now official for Raw. Adam Pearce got real angry. Okay. Um, I think it's funny that he can't control the roster. My friend was like, if he's so much of a problem, why don't we just fire these guys? Like, it's wrestling, brother. That's not how this works. Like, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a good match. I hope. Who do we want to win?
Well, obviously, I definitely want Bronson Reed to win, and I'm glad they're doing it at Crown Jewel because I think this match does deserve the
Yeah.
spotlight. I don't think it hurts Rollins at all by
Mhm.
having him lose to Bronson Reed. I think we want to elevate new guys, and Bronson Reed is definitely in that camp.
Mhm.
I'll give you a little trivia question just to make sure you're doing your homework.
Great.
Who was the indie wrestler on Bronson Reed's shoulders during Monday Night Raw, who also got flipped out of the entrance ramp? You saw that security guard who got flipped out
Oh.
of the entrance ramp. What is that guy's name?
Oh, good question. I'm glad you asked. I don't know. Marcus Mathers.
There it is.
Is that
Marcus
right?
Mathers, correct. ETU, Key to the East champion. He's doing his homework, guys. I was hoping you'd know that because you're a Philly guy. And this guy has been running the Philadelphia Independency, the New Jersey Independency.
He's
He's
going
all
to be
over
on
the
a.
Northeast.
He's going to be at AWX, American Wrestling Experience, in a couple weeks. Might try and go to that and see what I can do.
There you go. Perfect. I think they just followed me actually on Twitter, so it's funny that they did
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, those guys, Warriors of Wrestling guys, also made their return to
Hmm.
the security team, which I thought was pretty cool.
Hmm.
And all overall, I love this brawl because I think
Hmm.
Bronson Reed looked insane. Even when he missed the splash and
Hmm.
the announcer table, I've never seen an announce table explode like that. Like I think the side of the announce table just like flew up in the air. It
Hmm.
was awesome. So I love this segment, and I'm very much looking forward to the match at Crown Jewel.
Yes, it'll be great. Go Seth Rollins. I'm a Rollins
Ooh,
guy. I think it's also non. I mean, if Vince was booking this, Rollins would absolutely win.
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's closer than we think, though.
But we'll have predictions next week for Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
And maybe my mind will change because I can easily see Rollins winning it. I just
yeah,
think if we're trying to make Reed continue to look strong, it would help if he got a win over the guy who started this
yeah.
initial push for Bronson Reed,
Mhm.
which was Seth Rollins.
I think I was on Twitter or something where Bronson Reed was like, if worst case scenario or something, like if his career goes wrong, like him and Otis can just bring back the natural disasters. I was like, honestly, I don't hate that.
That would kind of be fun. Or like,
Yeah.
yeah, like an off-brand version. We Otis needs to do something because
Oh
my
my
God,
God.
they
I wanted
had
to talk
something
about,
with him earlier this year and now it's fallen
yeah,
off.
I wanted to bring that up briefly during the American Made stuff, but man, have they dropped the ball with Chad Gable as a whole, like the last six
Yeah.
months. Like what a like Triple H is a great booker, but I guess it's just again go back to the lack of spots and the lack of time and like. But man, he had something hot with Otis, and they dropped the ball on that and shoehorned the Uncle Howdy stuff in. And now they have this no whole stuff with American Made, and I thought them eating a loss was a mistake. Otis is now absolutely bottom of the barrel. Like not even like less than a jobber. Like he's like he jobs out the jobbers. So I don't know. It's unfortunate for Otis.
Yes. I would love to see Otis get back in the picture. But you know what? It's a crowded scene right now. And
Mhm.
if they don't have anything for him, then they don't have anything for him. If anything, just feed him to Braun Breaker for like an Intercontinental Championship match, like a little
Yeah,
throwaway. I think that would be fun.
yeah. Give him something to do.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, that was it for Raw.
That was
I
it.
think we wrapped up Raw pretty well there.
Mhm.
Next week we're gonna have another Raw recap, and we're also gonna do Crown Jewel predictions. So stay
Woo.
tuned for that, everyone.
Yes.
And I think that's where we'll end it off here.
Okay. All right. So next week, Crown Jewel predictions. We'll have find out who we think is going to win the Crown Jewel Championship, but can never be seen again. Question for you, Will.
Yes.
Whoever wins these championships, are they going to even
Okay.
appear on the following Raw?
Oh, that's such a good question. Uh I think it the only one day. Like I think right after
Mm,
whoever wins will appear on Raw. If there's a SmackDown winner, they'll appear on SmackDown. After that, no, never again.
no.
But I'll give
Yes.
them one. I'll give them one show. And if
One
they
show.
somehow don't do that, then that I think is a big indication of where this Crown Jewel title will
Place your
be
bets in the
yours.
comments below over under how many days we see the championship after Crown Jewel. Um, right now, the line is plus 3.5.
There you go.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week. Thank you so much. Take care.
Peace.
Bye.